What is going on, y'all? Gamers Goon here today with what is just going to be the Chicago Bears mock draft. We'll probably do a couple of these along with a couple regular mock drafts because we are just 17 days away, about 2 weeks out from the NFL draft. So the content with that is going to be picking up obviously now that I am back on YouTube. We are going to be doing a lot of content for the NFL draft for my Chicago Bears, as you can see behind me right there. Chicago, I wasn't happy that we traded Justin Fields, especially after going out and getting Keenan Allen. It really looked like we were building the foundation around Justin Fields, getting Pro Bowler and Keenan Allen. We went and got a Pro Bowler in DeAndre Swift. But ultimately, those guys were not for Justin Fields. And initially, I wasn't very happy for it, and I'm still not the most happy for it, I'm going to be honest. But we got to accept Caleb Williams is our guy. We got to accept it. I hope it pans out. Um, Obviously, we all heard, we've all seen Caleb Williams. Great player, great player. The problem is, though, is he going to be able to kind of leave some of that ego in check when he comes to Chicago? I mean, we already had Jalen Johnson come out and say, if we draft anybody, you better not be bringing any of that Hollywood crap into the locker room. And that's not something I want to see from my quarterback. That's not a statement that should be said. That's not a statement that should be needed to be said. And obviously from one of the big leaders of the defense, Jalen Johnson, who we're very happy to have back this season, best corner in the NFC/the NFL. Pick your debate. In my opinion, he's one of, if not the best, in the entire league/NFC, whatever one you want to pick. He's great. But ultimately, Caleb Williams, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy. I'm going to be shocked if not. I mean, we have his notes here, up here. They're talking about he has a Patrick Mahomes comparison, like he can make plays nobody else can, which I do see that when I see Caleb Williams. And I'm just really worried that we're not going to be able to develop him. We had flashes. We had a little bit more consistency. We saw. I mean, we were one Darnell Mooney catch away from being in the playoffs last year. That's how close we really were to the playoffs with Justin Fields. So I didn't really want to restart. But Caleb Williams, I hope he comes in. He's successful. I hope that he comes in and is kind of like C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud this year went out and had a great year. Caleb Williams here in Chicago is going to be gifted probably the best talent cast of people to be around you as a starting quarterback, as a rookie. You look at his two receivers, Pro Bowlers, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. I know DJ kind of got a little bit scammed this year, but he's still a 1,000-yard receiver. Could be a Pro Bowler any year. DeAndre Swift, a Pro Bowler, coming off a good season. He's still fairly young. And then in this draft, I do think they add some depth at receiver, because the depth at receiver might be a question mark, but for the most part, your two top receivers, your tight end even, Cole Kmet is very good. Your one deep is really good. You have really good players. Offensive line is something that they might want to look around at, but Caleb Williams, the talent around him, he has the potential to really have a rookie of the year type of year. He's been given the keys to the kingdom. I mean, I hope he comes in and does great. I hope he comes in and does great. It would be nice to see him come in and do special. I didn't really want Caleb Williams, but I think this might be a situation where I didn't necessarily know I wanted him, but he's going to come in. He's going to prove himself. He's given all the talent in the world. He has all the opportunity in the world. We traded Justin for this kid to clear the path for him. Let's see what he's got. We're taking Caleb Williams at number 1. Enough said about him for now, but he is our guy at number 1. I don't want to toy around with the idea of drafting Drake May, Jaden Daniels. I definitely don't want to see us consider J.J. McCarthy. Caleb Williams is the correct pick at number 1. I don't care whether or not I didn't want him coming into this draft because I was a fan of Justin. I don't care about that. You got rid of Justin, you go get the best quarterback, and that is Caleb Williams. And I hope he turns out better than Justin, because I still think there's some stuff left with Justin to be found in terms of like I think there's some potential there. So we'll see. Hopefully Justin does well too. No ill will towards Justin. Obviously, it wasn't his fault that he left Chicago. Hopefully he does good in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. But I hope Caleb Williams does slightly better because I kind of want to see the Chicago Bears win a Super Bowl. So Caleb Williams, we're behind you. We're behind you. Keys to the kingdom's yours. And you got some big shoes to fill, man. You got some big shoes to fill. City started to love Justin Fields. I mean, the last home game he played is "We want Fields" or "We want Justin" or whatever. It was one of those two. They were chanting it, and they interviewed him. And they're like, "What do you feel about them chanting that?" And he's like, "Well, this is my last go around here. Then it's been special." I mean, he got big shoes to fill, man. I mean, he won the locker room over, so I mean, it's time. It's time for the Bears to. It was time for them to move on. They moved on from a quarterback that was beloved, and you could be the next beloved QB in Chicago, an organization that's kind of been dying and pleading for this superstar quarterback to come through their ranks, and you have the opportunity to be that superstar quarterback. So Caleb Williams, in this draft we're gonna try to add some support around him. This is an interesting spot. I want to trade down. I want to trade down here because the Bears, we look here, we have 4 picks in this draft. 4 picks in this draft, and what we've seen with Ryan Poles is he likes to gain picks. He likes to gain picks. He likes a lot of shots at the dartboard, which is my kind of draft. You want to have as many throws at the dartboard as you can, because the more you throw, the more likely you are to hit. Now, you might be more likely to hit maybe let's look at some of the players you might be missing out on if you trade down. I mean, Brian Thomas is a guy here at 9 that I could make a legitimate case for at receiver. Y'all even go into the edge rusher lineup here with Laiti Latu, Dallas Turner, Jared Verse. Those guys, if you trade down, might not be there. I don't know if Rome is actually going to go to the Falcons, but we're just taking this as what it's given here. So Rome isn't there, so he's not an option for us. But even if you want to, I think we do need some help on the interior offensive line. And JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, I'm wearing the Oregon shirt as it is. He could be an option for us there. So we might be missing out on him. You look at defensive linemen, I think probably Byron Murphy's the first to go, but Johnny Newton, another guy, I know it says Jerzon, he goes by both, Johnny Jerzon, played at my Illinois, which I'm not representing right now, but grew up in Champaign. So Johnny Newton, I'm very familiar with his game, very good talent. Would love to have him in Chicago. I don't think we will get him ultimately, though, because we did draft 2 defensive tackle last year, and Zach Pickens, Devon Dexter, but interior defensive lineman, maybe one guy there, Byron Murphy, that we'd go after. Edge, like I said, 3 guys. And then, so really right now we have 1 here at center in JPJ. We got 3 edges, 1 DT, and 1 receiver on the board. We have a lot of players right now that we could potentially take a gamble on, become our guys. We could go offensive tackle. I don't think we are going to be going offensive tackle. I did not want to click on Johnny Newton. So I think this is a trade down spot. I know some Bears fans have been like, oh, Brock Bowers, you can kind of use him as a receiver tight end combo. I don't want Brock Bowers here. I rather trade down, gain the picks, because at some point we got to gain picks. At some point in this draft, we got to gain picks. And when you're looking at a team, we're not trading with the Vikings. They're in the conference. Thus, they're offering us a lot. And if they are offering us anything, I think it's going to move up for a quarterback, because they are also a team that's going to need a quarterback now. Bo Nix, Michael Penix will be there. So I'm looking at maybe like a Broncos, maybe one of those teams right outside of that Vikings pick. And I think we're probably going to have to come in here and orchestrate a trade with the Broncos, because they don't seemingly want this. But we'll see what we can get worked out. Is that realistic? We'll give them that pick, and they'll give us those 2 picks. Something like that. I imagine there'll be 1 pick swap in between there, and then we'll probably get 2 later picks, something like that. But this is just what we're going to go with for this. No, they don't want it. Okay. So we're not going to include that, and we're just going to throw you this. No, they don't want it. How about that? No, they don't want it. The Broncos got to be difficult, of course. Okay, so this is what we're getting. Is that the correct package? Who knows? Who knows what the picks are going to go for? They're trading up for a QB. We could hold them a little bit of a ransom on the QBs. I don't know if they traded up for Quinyon Mitchell according to this draft. That's probably a QB. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really change what I was going to do here because we weren't going Quinyon Mitchell. We are ultimately taking Brian Thomas, I think. I know you're looking at me, you're like, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, do you really need him? Do you really need a third receiver? I think you do. Keenan Allen's 31 years old. How long realistically does Keenan Allen stay at the top of his game? You're looking maybe 3 or 4 good years out of Keenan Allen before we need to start thinking about replacing him. I think Brian Thomas is a guy that could probably go inside the top 10. I know it says his rank is 28th, but I think he's very talented. I think he's ultimate. I mean, I don't know if you can. Well, can we? Yeah, we can pull up the first look. This is a guy that I think is going to fit really well into the team. 6'4", pretty young still. So by the time Keenan Allen even is thinking about retirement, he's only going to be like 25 years old, man. I just everything about this tells me to go Brian Thomas. I think you need a third receiver. You're trying to add as many weapons as possible into Caleb Williams' arsenal. Brian Thomas is that guy here at 12. I could have made a case there for edge rusher Dallas Turner, but ultimately I think Brian Thomas is the right answer there. So we did pick up some shots here. We still only got 4 shots. I do think we'll probably still get more than this. But I mean, I'm looking at, I would love if the Bears could get Jalen Wright. I really would, but it makes no sense for us. Before we got DeAndre Swift, I was like, we'll probably go in on one of these running backs because I imagine we're letting Deontay Foreman walk, and then we're gonna have Khalil Herbert and Roschon. But right now we have 3. We have Swift, Khalil, and Roschon, and I don't see us really hopping in on Jalen Wright. But this is a guy that I really, really like. NFL caliber athlete for a running back. Youth is positive, lack of mileage. This guy is going to be a guy that I think could be very, his card calling is his explosiveness. Yeah, right there. That's what it tells you. This guy could be very impactful for us out of the backfield. Kind of that explosive, like they said, back that you just get the ball in his hands and he's going to create a play. But ultimately, I don't think we're necessarily in that running anymore. Then we look at interior offensive linemen. Is it too early to go like a Cedric Van Pran? Probably. But ultimately, there's not much interior offensive lineman there that can really stand out. Look at edge rusher. I think that's something you need to consider. Austin Booker is somebody I like out of Kansas. If they'll bring it up. He had a solid season this year. Last year, not necessarily the same. Didn't play nearly as much. 6'6" guy, great size to him. Redshirt sophomore. This kid I think could be one of those guys that kind of goes a little bit underlooked there and could turn into something nice. I mean, look at this. Wasn't on anybody's radar, and then he jumps up into this middle range here in February. I mean, and they already think we're going to take him. I think I'm going to follow that trend. I really do think Austin Booker could be a guy for us. I do think we're going to be in on some edge rushers in this class. And if I'm going to take a chance at one, it's going to be Austin Booker. And now I do want to trade one of these picks. Because I do not love that we're back-to-back here. I mean, granted, we do get 2 really decent chances to throw at the board. But the Panthers don't have what I want. So this actually, I'm going to be taking, should we dip back in the receiver pool? I mean, this is a guy, I don't know if he's going to be here yet. Luke McCaffrey is a guy that I think could be he could go round 3, round 4, and I think he could be pretty impactful. There's a lot of, the receiver class is really deep, man. I think there's some guys here. I mean, we could bring a USC guy with, obviously with Caleb Williams. But ultimately, I don't know if we have a receiver right now. I do want to add some interior offensive line help. Some of the top guys are off the board. I think, do we want to go maybe a guard, or do we want to just stick to the fact that I think we could go center? He's played no center snaps. He can kind of flex around Cooper Beebe. This is a guy that I've also heard about the last few years. Kind of always feels like Cooper Beebe's name is being mentioned. Zach Zinter, another really good player at Michigan, had a good season. Played just at that right guard spot. And Drake Nugent, another Michigan guy here. All of his snaps are at center. I mean, it's just a matter of not. Do we want to go? I think I would prefer center, but Cooper Beebe is very tempting with kind of his flexibility on the line. He can move around a little bit. I mean, he played left tackle. He's played tackle. He's played guard. He's played right tackle this season. He's played both tackles this season, actually. He's a guy that can move around a little bit. I mean, you look at the Bears' offensive line. It's nothing impressive. It's nothing impressive at all. Do we go for depth? I think that at this point, you're probably not getting a starter if you take Drake Nugent. So I think we're going to go depth here with Cooper Beebe and just somebody who can move around a little bit. Then trades the Panthers. The Panthers still want this pick, man. They still want this pick. You know, we're going to deal it off to the Panthers. Are they willing to do that straight up? No. Are they willing to do this and that? All right, you got a deal. You got a deal. We'll move down and take a pick next season. Receiver is, I really think something about Luke McCaffrey tells me he's going to be in Chicago. To me, he just feels like he's going to be in Chicago. Played a lot of snaps in the slot. Kind of fits that bill of that third receiver role that we were looking for. I mean, obviously, we just picked up Brian Thomas to play that third receiver role, but he could be that fourth receiver until Keenan's time is done, and then really come in and thrive as that third receiver role. Do I want depth at receiver? Do I want to look at a defensive tackle here, maybe to add some depth there? Mason Smith's a guy I really like. Tyler Davis, another guy I really like. Miles Murphy, a solid player. I really like Mason Smith. I mean, Mason Smith is somebody. He didn't have a great year. But 6'6", 315. He's a guy that played his freshman year at LSU. Had a little bit of a setback there. I think this is one of those situations that you gotta really rely on the upside. 141, you got a chance to rely on upside. You don't need to necessarily make the greatest of picks. Mason Smith's a guy that I think could still have something in him if he can have a healthy season, a full healthy season. I mean, we already just talked about his injury. 12 games played, pretty solid this season. Not rated solid at all, actually, but he had a solid production this season in terms of amount of snaps played. But he once again, that defensive tackle spot's really hard for me to kind of figure out here because I don't think anybody's coming in. We're drafting anybody to start. I don't think that's the case, but I do think we have some rotational needs there at that DT spot, and I think Mason Smith could be that guy. Has some upside there, so we're going to take him. We took Cooper Beebe earlier. Okay, I was trying to remember which offensive lineman we took. You know what? He's still here. I think at this point, Drake Nugent, if he's there, you need a center. You need a center in this draft. I'm not going to lie to you. Even if it's just a backup center, the center spot is not great for Chicago. So I'm going to take Drake Nugent here. We're just going to commit to him. And then we have another pick at 240. I'm trying to think. Did I take McCaffrey? I don't think I took McCaffrey. We'll see here in a second. 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 We'll We go a long way without picking somebody. A long way. Brian Thomas. Where's our other picks? Brian Thomas with 1. Austin Booker. I like that. I like that. Tommy Eichenberg. Don't be surprised if he's a Bear. Don't be surprised if he's a Bear. I could see us going another linebacker. Mason Smith. And then Drake Nuke. Yeah, I didn't take a receiver. Dang, there's only 2 receivers left. 2 receivers left at this point. I'm going to be honest. I don't know anything about either of these guys. That's pretty good numbers, though. At Idaho, though. What's your size looking like? 6'2", similar to that Luke, or not that Luke. The McCaffrey build. It is Luke McCaffrey. Yeah. Similar to that McCaffrey build. Hayden had it. I'm not going to act like I know much about him. Great numbers the last 2 seasons. And if you're looking for a dark horse, maybe I don't know much about him. And then this guy, Lidetrick Griffin. I don't know anything about him either. Numbers aren't nearly what I was expecting. Hayden had it. Let's Google this guy. See if I recognize his face. What was his 40? A 4.6. Ooh. 4.6. Not a huge fan of that. Very good vertical. Very good vertical. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm looking for kind of that third receiver. I don't know if I'm falling in love with that. Could go backup QB already. For our boy Caleb Williams. Maybe add some offensive line help here. Zion Nelson. Wow. This is a guy that we've heard a lot about. I mean, back in 2021, we thought, and then this guy, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what happened to Zion Nelson. I don't know where he went. Like, he fell completely off the face of the planet. I did not even realize he was still in the draft. But I definitely recognize that name. Layden Robinson could be a pick here. Name that I am somewhat familiar with. Not the greatest of seasons, but plays that right guard spot. 6'4". I don't know what we're gonna do here. I'm like, what do we want to do here? Do I just want to? I don't think I want to go receiver. Do we want to take Trey Knox? Maybe. Jared Wiley from TCU, a name I'm fairly familiar with. Saw him play a little bit the last 2 seasons. 6'7", that's great. That's great, actually. You know what? We're just gonna commit to a tight end, a pass catcher for Caleb Williams here. That's what we're gonna commit to. And there you have it. There you have it. That's what we're gonna do with the first Bears mock draft. Obviously, Caleb Williams coming to town. And let's see what they graded here. They wanted me to draft Dallas Turner. That's another guy, like I was saying, it could be either or. It could have been him. It could have been Brian Thomas. It didn't. And to me, it's not a bad pick to go Brian Thomas, but they gave it a C. It is what it is. Caleb Williams, you get him a pass catcher right away. Austin Booker, I think he can be impactful. Could be kind of that depth piece that you can kind of plug and play around that offensive line. Mason Smith, same thing for that defensive line. Then you're getting a center, which they didn't rate well, but I do think it's a big need. And unfortunately, we don't necessarily have the luxury of being able to wait and take a center, and the centers are not that great in this class. So we probably just want to go secure somebody in those middle rounds that's pretty solid. Obviously, we don't have like an elite center that we can go look for, really. And then Jared Wiley, like I said, kind of just feel like you got to go get a pass catcher for Caleb Williams, so that's what we're going to do. But, yeah. There we have it. That's the draft we put around Caleb Williams for year 1. I think, like I said, the Bears are going to take more shots at the dartboard. That's kind of been the thing I've been saying the last couple of years with this GM with this organization with Ryan Poles there. He likes taking shots. He likes throwing darts at the dartboard. Caleb Williams, obviously, that one is already been thrown at the dartboard. There's no question. It is Caleb Williams. Everything after is going to be really where Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears can hang their heads high. This is a chance to solidify your team for the future. That doesn't go for just the Bears, but every team. But this is a really big draft for the Bears. You have to get it right. You are getting your franchise quarterback. You failed multiple times going and getting pieces that help your franchise quarterback. You are once again in the process of drafting your franchise quarterback. You drafted 2 in the last 10 years that have came in to be your franchise quarterback, and you have let them down. You need to go into this draft, and you need to secure everybody around Caleb Williams. You need to find him a pass catcher that can help him. Once Keenan Allen retires, I need somebody back there that can help DJ Moore be his second option. I need a number 2, kind of like when you look at, for example, the Seahawks. You look at them, they had Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Guess what they went out? They got JSN, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Very good player there for them. You got to get another receiver. You got to get him help there. Defense, I thought we looked good last year towards the end of the season, but you need to create more sacks, you need to create more pressure, and you need to go find some interior help there, whether that's defensive tackles, getting some defensive ends, then go create the pressure. You got to find somebody else, because right now it is Montez Sweat doing everything for you. Go get help from Montez Sweat. I'm being very serious when I say this. You have the pieces on your team, even with Caleb Williams as a rookie quarterback, to be better than what the Texans were this year. You have the pieces for it. So if you can go out there and you can achieve that, you're a playoff team. You were very close last year. If some miracle happened and there was a tie in the Packers-Vikings game at the end of the season, you would have been in the playoffs. Or if Darnell Mooney catches the ball in the Browns game, you would have been in the playoffs. I mean, you were that close to being in the playoffs last year. That close with Justin Fields hurt for some of the season, and you were playing Tyson Bagent. Caleb Williams, you bring him in. You build around him. There's no more ifs, ands, and buts about, oh, let's bring this quarterback in and just let's see what happens. No, you're going to come in and you're going to put the talent around this quarterback. We don't need to be sitting here another 5 to 6 years, sitting here, oh, well, we just traded Caleb Williams, who was showing flashes to whoever, the Lions, or not the Lions, we're not going to trade in the conference. We just traded him to the Cowboys, who Dak Prescott left. I mean, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You come into this draft, you get the talent around Caleb Williams, and we give it a legitimate chance. We don't want to sit here and say 5 to 6 years around that we're sitting back in the top 5 and we're like, we got it wrong again. No, we haven't gotten it wrong again. You need to go in and you need to get the talent. You have an opportunity to go get the talent, go get it. Caleb Williams, he's not the problem anymore. It's whether or not you can go get the talent to put around him. Brian Thomas, if it's not him, okay. I don't really care if it's him or not. You got to find him a receiver. You got to find him one of those top 10, 15 receivers that are in this class, because there's loads of them that can come in and make an impact right away. I don't know how you do that because you have no picks in this year's draft, but you got to find ways to get more darts on the board. And if you don't do that this year, then you're making a big mistake, because I'm telling you, this draft has a very good load of players. It has a lot of players in here that I think in other years, they go maybe one round higher than what they're projected to go in this year's draft. I mean, it's a loaded receiver class. It is a loaded defensive class. It is loaded. This draft has a lot of talent to come in and compete. In those first 4 rounds, you can get starters. You might be able to find some starters on day 3, in that 5th, 6th, 7th round, if you're finding the right guys. This class, you have to get it right if you're Ryan Poles. You have to get it right. You, unfortunately, did not get it right in the past. I mean, whether or not that was you or not, does not matter. Mitch Trubisky, you didn't get it right. You had Justin Fields, whether or not we got it right, I don't know. We never gave him a fair shot. But as the Bears organization, you didn't get it right, because guess what? He's gone. So clearly you didn't get something right. Caleb Williams, you got to get it right. We cannot be sitting here in another 10, or not 10, another 4 or 5 years talking about who's the next quarterback of the Chicago Bears. We can't do that. We need to stop doing that. We need a quarterback in Chicago for the next 10 to 15 seasons. We need our franchise guy. We've been waiting and waiting my whole life to find who is the franchise guy of the Chicago Bears. You finally figured out, you know what? We don't believe in Fields enough because we think this Caleb Williams guy is better. All right, if you think he's better, give him a fair shot. Go out there and get all the talent you can in this draft. I don't want to sit here at the end of the draft and say we had 4 picks. I don't want to sit here at the end of the draft and say, well, what we did is we drafted Caleb, and then we came in at 9 and drafted Dallas Turner, which I wouldn't be mad at Dallas Turner because I really do like him. I want him to be a Bear. I don't think it's realistic because I think we need to trade that pick. But I don't want to sit there and be like, well, we got him, and then with one of our picks, we took kind of this one person that we don't really know, kind of like a Velus Jones type of, well, maybe he's a gadget player. We don't really know what he is, and then we're throwing one offensive lineman out there. No. Get darts, make impact picks. Go get players that can make an impact next year. We need people on this team that can want to win. We need people on this team that are good at what they do. You look at the weaknesses of this team. You can fill them in this draft. Is receiver a weakness? Probably not. Probably not a weakness. But offensive line, you're going to have a lot of scouting to do because there's a lot of guys in that middle round that is not necessarily, I don't know how to differentiate between them, but you probably do because guess what? You're studying their tape every single day to figure out which offensive lineman you want. So, make your pick. Make it a good pick. Make it an impact player. Look at an impact player we got a few years ago in Braxton Jones. Let's find the next Braxton Jones for the offensive line. Let's go find a center that can come in and do something. Let's go find an edge rusher to play opposite of Montez Sweat that can come in and do something, whether it's Austin Booker or not. Let's find somebody, man. Let's find somebody because this year, I'm telling you, it's got to be the turning point. It's got to be the turning point. We cannot keep being in this endless cycle as Chicago Bears organization, as a team, as a fan base. We cannot be in this endless cycle of, well, we'll restart it every 4 years. We can't do that. Come in. I don't care whether or not you're a Caleb Williams supporter or not. As a fan, you can't deny that the kid is good. Whether or not his ego gets in the way is not a question. You got to give him the talent around him. You got to give him the talent around him. You got to show the support. You got to get players around him that you know can win football games. You have guys already, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift. You got the guys. Now find players here in this draft. Don't sit there and be complacent and be like, well, you know what? We're just going to be okay with the couple picks we have. No. Take more shots at the dartboard. Do your research. Get your players because we need depth. What happens when Keenan Allen goes down with injury? Are we playing Velus Jones? Are we playing Kwame St. Brown? Or do we want to have somebody in there that might be potentially a little bit better? What happens if Montez Sweat goes down with injury? Where's the pressure being created from? Get another edge rusher that can do something. What if our offensive line has some injury issues, which they've had in the past? Go get somebody that can fill in. Cooper Beebe. I mean, there's just a lot of things that you need to think about. Because I'm going to be honest, the top of our free agency looks great. It looks great. I mean, you brought in Byard. You brought in Swift. I mean, it looks good on paper what you did, but you're still lacking the depth. You're still lacking it. You got to come in. You got to get it, and you got to get it right this year. You've got to get it right this year. This is a very pivotal, transitional, whatever you want to call it, period for the Ryan Poles era. He, by going away from Justin Fields, probably added a couple more years to his tenure. Same thing with Eberflus, because they're going to give you a little bit of a leash now that you have Caleb Williams. They're going to be like, all right, well, we'll give you another chance with him to figure it out with him. You can't. If you get this one wrong, you're done. You're done. You can't. There's no recovering. You cannot get Caleb Williams wrong. You've got to get this draft right. This is the biggest draft in the Bears' history. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, he's crazy. Thinks it's the best draft in Bears history. No, it is the best draft or the biggest draft in the Bears history. You were drafting number one. You were drafting the guy that everybody compares to Patrick Mahomes. You were drafting a guy that we've known about for the last 3 years that they've said is this special talent. Make him a special talent in Chicago. You don't have a great history of doing it, but this guy right here, you've got to make him a special talent. You've got to. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.